Hello everyone and welcome to ButteredGaming. I'm ButterToast III and today I'm going to be continuing my Java for Beginners tutorial here. And today we are going to be doing episode 11, if you may have noticed from the title of the video. And as you also may have noticed, we are going to be creating and utilizing external class files in our code. Now, as you'll notice, this is a class file here. Oop, I just messed that up bad. Alright, that's okay. We fixed it. Alright. So anyway, you'll notice that this is a class file that we are working in right now. And this file does contain our main statement, which is the statement that's going to be run when the program is run for during runtime. But what you can do is you can also create external class files like the random or scanner class files that we've been importing since the beginning of these tutorials. And you can use them to utilize code over and over again instead of having to rewrite all that code. For example, the random code, if I knew how to do it, I'd have to write all of the code necessary to grab a random number every single time I wanted one. But since I can just import it and call what is called a method, I can use one line of code as opposed to probably a very large amount of code necessary to generate a random number. But in this case, you won't have to import the classes like you would with the scanner or the random because they are going to be in the same project. So, as you'll notice, we have our class and our main statement. We can just leave those alone for now. And what we want to do is, for Eclipse users, you're going to come over to source and you're going to right click and create a new class, just like we have since the beginning for the main class that we've been using. For those of you who are not using Eclipse, you can just put the new file inside of the same folder that you have your main file in. Alright, so we can name it whatever. So we can name it external in this case. And as you'll notice, I did make the first letter a capital. That's just it's kind of what people do syntactically for external class files that are not the main class file. It just helps a lot of the IDEs will color code it differently, so so it's a good thing to do. And you'll notice that it did put in the same class thing as we have for our other files. Now this is our example external file, class file, and I guess I don't need anything else there. And you'll notice that we do not need a main statement in this file. Alright, so I'll show you about utilizing all those files later. But once we come in here, you'll notice that this is indeed capitalized. So within a class file, what you're going to want to usually have are variables, and in this case they're called instance variables for the class. And they're all the same types of variables as has been in the other classes, so you can do whatever. We're just going to be doing examples, so we can go int var1, double var2, Boolean var3, etc., etc. So what you're also going to need, Constructor, yeah, okay, spelled that right, just making sure, in an external class file is a constructor, because you may remember I mentioned this earlier, I believe I mentioned it earlier anyway, the relationship between the external class file and this class file here is that I'm sorry, just organizing my thoughts here. This external file, the code in here is not going to be changed at all. It's just going to be referenced to create what is called an object. It's a little abstract, but you can think of the class file, this one we have here, as a kind of a mold, and the object as the product you get after you pour in, say, plastic or metal or whatever's going into your mold. So you can just try to think of it like that. But the constructor is going to tell what the default values for these are. So to initialize the constructor, I guess you're not really initializing it, but you're going to go public again so that everything can see it. and you're just going to go external this time, no class behind it. And then you're also going to want these parentheses, and then of course your curly braces, and there you have it. Now these parentheses, they contain parameters, and right now we don't need to pass any parameters, so it's blank. And then once you're in the constructor, you can initialize your variables. Now you can initialize them out here, just to say you can, but you don't have to. And once in the constructor, you're going to tell what the default values are. Now sometimes you can just say var1 equals a number or something, but if you wanted to take in values from in here, what you can do is you can pass in, say, we're going to be taking a value for double, so it needs to have the same variable type, so double, there we go, and you're going to give it kind of a new name that it's going to assign to when it comes into here. Now this is a completely, you can think of it almost as a completely new variable, so you don't have to name it var2 or even whatever the variable that's being passed over here is. So you can name it, I like to name it with an n and then whatever variable name that I am placing it into, because that signifies to me it's the new and then the variable that I'm placing the new value into. So when we do this, we can go var2 equals n var2, and that says that whatever value is being passed in from over in here is going to be placed into the value for variable 2. You can also do that with the Boolean, because we can var3, and you can go var3 equals n var3, same thing. So there it is, and as you can see, you can have more than one variable inside of there. So now, to create this new class that we've just made, there's going to be more in here. Don't worry, I'm just showing you that this is kind of basically the most that you need. So to create that, what we can do is call the object, so external, and you're going to give it a name. You can call it example, external, whatever you'd like, equals, oop, there we go, new, keyword new, external, and then you're going to have those parentheses. And as always, those parentheses are whatever's being passed in there. Wow, the constructor external is undefined. External. Boy. Oh, see, the reason it's telling me it's wrong is because I need to match I need to put these values in. So what you can do for this is you can just either pass in a straight value, like I can put 2.5 for the double, and true or false even for the variable, or you can even pass in you can pass in variable values stored in variables. So if I had a Boolean on this side, and I can name it whatever I want, whatever Boolean, and I can give it a value, and we can say false. There we go. So then if I wanted to, I can pass in the value for that variable, and I can go whatever Boolean, Boolean, there we go, and we're good. So as you'll notice, this whatever Boolean, the variable name, whatever Boolean, is not the same as var3 or n var3, so it doesn't even have to be the same. I'm just letting you know that. So there you go. So then there are ways to interact with the class files, and these are called methods. And there are two types of methods. There are accessors and there are mutators. Now, oh, I spelled accessor wrong. There you go. Still spelled it wrong. And I'm just going to leave it wrong because I'm not really sure. Accessor. I don't even know. We're going to pretend that's how it's spelled right. Oh well. Anyway, they're called accessors and mutators. Now, the names are kind of self-explanatory. The accessors, methods that get the values from the instance variables. And the mutators are methods that change the values in the instance variables. There we are. So they're kind of self-explanatory. Now, the basic setup for both of these variable types is the same. So you're going to have public again, and you're going to have a type for both of these. So in the case of accessors, you're going to need the variable type that you are accessing. So usually they'll have different accessor methods for each variable that they have. So in this case, we can go public integer, and we're going to name it. And a lot of the times for accessors, people will name it with get in the name. So we can go get var1, and then you're going to have your parameters, parentheses, and of course your curly braces. Now, this is must return a result of type. Yeah, I know, but you don't need any parameters. Yes, I know. Stop it. You don't need any parameters in here because you're not passing in any values from your main method. So that can just be blank. So what you can do then is you can return var1, and it will return the value for variable 1. Now this basically means that it's going to take the value in variable 1 and it's going to pass it back into this main method. But it's not going to display anything unless you go something like system.out.print line, and then you can go example external, the name of the object that you initialized, and then a dot to indicate that you're going to be using a method. And then what you can do is say the name of whatever method you're going to be using. So get var1, and then you're going to need your parameter parentheses, and since there is no parameters being passed in, you can just end the line. So now if I ran it, now if I ran this, you'll see, oh, there it goes. It returned the value 1 because in here variable 1 is, when it's being initialized, is giving the value 1, and it's going to return that over to basically example external.getVar1 is going to transform into the value 1 because that's what's being returned. So system.out.println is going to return the value 1. So that's kind of how that works. So as I said, you're going to need a new one for each of the different, spelled double wrong. There we go. Each of the instance variables that are being accessed. So there you go. Now if I did the exact same thing as I did here for each of those, I can get var2, actually say that, 2, var3, and we're going to need to change, yep, that's all correct. And if I saved this and ran it, you'll see I get 1, 2.5, and false. So there you go. That's just showing you that that's working. Yeah, okay. All right, so next I can show you about our mutators. And mutators, as I said, are methods that change values. So you're going to, again, use this public, and then you're going to need a variable type for whatever you're returning. But in this case, since it's a mutator, it's not going to be returning anything to that main class that we have. So you can call it a void. And then you can name the method, and usually they'll call it something like set variable name because you're setting variable 1. Just like if I was going to do a get, but it's set instead. So I'm setting the value of variable 1. And in this case, we're going to need to, we don't need to specifically, I can just go var1 equal, and if you needed like a specific number to be put in there, but I can also pass in values like I did for the constructors. So if I was to pass in an integer new var1, and again, you're going to want to make sure this is the same as whatever is being changed up here. So var1 equals n var1, and we can go with that. So if I was to do another mutator for each of the variables I have, hear my dogs barking in the background. No idea what's going on. There we go. All right, so then we have all of our mutators. We can separate that a little bit. We have, oh, this should be a Boolean. My apologies. I wasn't paying attention to what I was writing. There we go. All right, so now if I wanted to utilize the mutator methods, I could change values. Now there's different ways to do this as well. What you could do is you can just send it a straight value. So if I was to example external dot set var1, I can pass in a random straight variable that I wanted, or I can change it based on whatever the value of a variable is. So if I did example external dot set var3, and I passed in, not n var3, you know, and I passed in whatever Boolean, again, it would pass in the value for whatever Boolean. So I haven't you can also, not var1, I didn't want to do var1, I want to do var2, and I can go, let's say 2.5 plus 6.7. You can do it that way too. All right, so then I need to display the results of the mutators. So if I did that, I can just copy this code here and paste it right there. And if I were to run it again, well, let's give us a little space afterwards. There we go. Now if I were to save it and run it again, you can see the first set, let's see, is 1, 2.5, and false. And the second set is 2, 9.2, and false. And you can see that everything worked very well. So there are a lot more you can do with methods than just accessing values and changing values of variables. You can also create a method to multiply a certain way, do something else. I've created a method to generate fractions. I don't know, that doesn't sound so very impressive because it's really not, but it was just an example I was giving you. You can, it's very open. You can do what you like with it. At any rate, that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to show you how to create the external classes and everything, and that's pretty much what happened just now. So thank you very much for watching. As always, you can get all the code on ButteredGaming.com/source. That URL might change sometime, and I'll have to indicate that on my videos, and that might be a little awkward. But at any rate, for now, that is what it is, unless in the video it says otherwise. So thank you very much for watching. Links will also be in the description below. And hope you come again next time. Hey, I hope you liked watching the video. If you did, you can click on the previous general upload there to see a Magic the Gathering deck showcase, or you can click on the previous playlist upload if you haven't seen the previous upload in this playlist. Thanks for watching.